All right, let's jump right in. We are talking about maybe the biggest question in tech right now. How different is GPT-5 really from GPT-4? We're digging into a fantastic deep dive report from Virtualization Options LLC to get the answers. And look, we all know GPT-4 was a game changer, right? It totally reset the bar. But what we're hearing about GPT-5, this isn't just another update. It sounds like a complete overhaul of what AI can even be. So, that's the big question we're asking today. Is this just an incremental upgrade, a GPT 4.5 in disguise? Or are we looking at something that truly redefines the entire field? I think by the end of this, you'll see why redefinition is a much better word for it. Okay, so before we can really appreciate just how big of a jump GPT-5 is, we gotta look back at the current king of the hill, right? Let's take a quick look at GPT-4, the model that, well, it changed everything. I mean, GPT-4 was, and still is, an absolute beast. It's built on that classic transformer architecture, rocking around 170 billion parameters. It was amazing at holding a conversation, spitting out code, creating marketing copy, you name it. It really did become the gold standard for what a smart AI assistant should be. But, it wasn't perfect. Not by a long shot. For one, running it took a ton of computing power. And we've all seen the hallucinations, right? When it just confidently makes stuff up. Plus, its ability to handle images always felt a little tacked on. It wasn't a core part of its brain. And these exact problems, that's what GPT-5 was designed to fix. And this is where things get really cool. The answer wasn't just, let's make it bigger and throw more data at it. No, they went back to the drawing board and completely re-architected the whole thing. So, check out this comparison. GPT-4 was kind of like a single giant know-it-all brain. Every single task, whether it was writing a poem or solving a math problem, went through the same massive pipeline. But GPT-5? It's totally different. It uses a hybrid system. Think graph neural networks mixed with transformers. A way better way to think about it is like a human brain. You have different parts for language, for logic, for creativity. GPT-5 does the same thing. It has this dynamic routing system that's a total game changer. It takes a task and sends it to the specific part of the model that's an expert on it. Even though it's way bigger, we're talking over 500 billion parameters, this system makes it unbelievably efficient. And the results of this new design? They're just staggering. First off, a 45% drop in those hallucinations, those factual errors. I mean, think about that. That's almost half. This makes it so much more trustworthy, especially for really important stuff like in medicine or legal research, where you just can't afford to be wrong. And here's the part that just blows my mind. It's a much, much bigger model, right? But it's actually 3.2 times more efficient. How is that even possible? It all comes back to that dynamic routing system. It's smart. It only spins up the parts of its brain that it needs for a specific task. That means it's faster and uses way less energy. But maybe the most important number of all is this one. It's 67% better at solving complex, multi-step problems. And we're not just talking about spitting out facts here. This is about true reasoning, connecting the dots, building a logical argument from A to B to C. So, what does that actually look like? Let's use an example. Imagine you give both models a classic locked room mystery to solve. GPT-4 would probably do a decent job, but it would likely guess based on thousands of detective stories it's read. It'd look for cliches. But GPT-5, it uses what this report calls forensic-style reasoning. It doesn't just guess. It analyzes the physical evidence, the constraints, like the locked door, the timelines, the character motivations. It builds a cause-and-effect map and starts eliminating things that are literally impossible. It's the difference between a storyteller and an actual detective. All right, let's move on to what could be the single biggest upgrade for you and me, the everyday user. For the first time, we're getting an AI that actually has a memory. It remembers you. The key here is the jump from what you could call temporary memory to persistent memory. You know how with GPT-4, every single chat is a fresh start. It has total amnesia. You're basically talking to a stranger every time. GPT-5 changes all that. It has a dynamic memory. It learns things about you, it holds on to key facts, and it builds context from one conversation to the next. Let me give you a perfect example of how this works. Let's say on Monday, you're looking for dinner recipes, and you mentioned that your partner is lactose intolerant. Then, a few days later on Thursday, you open a new chat and ask, hey, what's a good dessert to make for a dinner party? GPT-4 wouldn't have a clue, but GPT-5, It would proactively say, how about some great dairy-free dessert options? Because it remembers that detail from Monday. It connects the dots for you. And this is what takes it from just being a cool tool to being a true personal assistant. It'll remember the projects you're working on, your writing style, even details about your colleagues or family that you've mentioned in passing. It's not just a one-off transaction anymore. It's an ongoing, evolving partnership. So you've got this revolutionary new architecture. You've got this persistent memory. What does that actually mean for the answers it gives you? Well, it means the answers aren't just smarter on paper. They're way more practical and genuinely useful in the real world. Think about it. GPT-4 would often give you these perfect, idealized answers that didn't really account for real life. GPT-5 gives you plans that actually work. There's a great example from the report. Ask it to create a week-long meal plan for a family, but with two big constraints: a budget of only $100, and the only cooking tools are a microwave and a hot plate. GPT-4 would probably struggle. GPT-5 will give you a realistic, doable plan that actually respects those limitations. And then there's this whole multimodal thing. With GPT-4, again, understanding an image felt kind of bolted on. With GPT-5, it's baked right in. It was designed from day one to be a truly unified system. It doesn't just look at a picture. It can understand what's happening in a video, listen to and process audio, and then generate content that weaves all of that together seamlessly. It really is a multimedia brain. Okay, but all this incredible new power doesn't come for free. There are some really interesting trade-offs and real-world implications here, from how it feels to talk to it, all the way down to how much it costs. You see, there's a fascinating side effect to GPT-5 being so precise and logical. This quote from a reviewer at The Verge really nails it. They said that while it's undeniably smarter, talking to it can sometimes feel like talking to a brilliant but somewhat sterile expert instead of a creative partner. And that really gets to the heart of the trade-off, doesn't it? Some people are going to miss the kind of conversational warmth, the creative little tangents that GPT-4 was known for. But what you're gaining with GPT-5 is just objectively better in so many ways. Fact-checking on the fly, seriously deep logical reasoning, and answers that are grounded in reality. It's that classic dilemma. Do you want personality or do you want precision? And of course, this new capability shows up in the pricing tiers. There's still going to be a free version with some limited access. But for the main GPT Plus tier, you get full-blown GPT-5. And here's a really interesting detail. They're giving you the option to toggle back to GPT-4o just in case you prefer its style for certain creative tasks. Then, of course, you've got the enterprise level for businesses that need all the bells and whistles. Just to wrap up the raw performance numbers, take a look at this chart. When you look at the really tough stuff, like advanced math, analyzing cause and effect, generating complex code, GPT-5 isn't just a small step up. It is a massive quantum leap forward in what these things can actually do. So let's just pull this all together. When you factor in the completely new architecture, the persistent memory that remembers you, the true native multimodality, and that incredible forensic-style reasoning, it becomes pretty obvious what's going on here. This isn't just GPT-4 with a fresh coat of paint. It's a fundamental redefinition of what an AI can be. We're talking about something that's not just a tool you pull out of a toolbox anymore. It's smarter, it's faster, it's more reliable, and it's designed to be a continuous collaborative partner. And that really leaves us with the biggest question of all. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to change the way you work, the way you create, and the way you solve problems in a world where this kind of partner exists?